It starts with education there as well, I think. Trying to understand how the brain works, how your body works, and what works for you. Like, because I think almost every player, before you've started learning something about mental aspects of the game, you still have a way to cope with it. Just you don't know what you do. You just do something because it's what you believe in somehow, or what you've always done. But it becomes really interesting, I think, when those patterns that you have get merged with your education, and you actually start knowing stuff about the brain, and you can go, that's why I'm protecting myself by saying this to myself, or that's why I never want to go 100% on a test, because as soon as I go 100% on my test, I'm leaving it all out there. But if I just go 97% on this test, I can always tell myself afterwards that, well, I didn't do 100%. If I would have done 100%, I would have been way better, right? So the human brain, of course, will always find shortcuts for people to survive somehow. And I think it gets really interesting when, like I said, education mixes with your behaviors, and you start understanding why you're behaving the way you are. And I think after that stage, you're allowed to use as much sports psychology, having a mental coach, as you want to. I think for some players, it's really good. I think for some players, it's probably good not to have one. But the big thing is to make an active decision about it, and not just go, all right, that's nothing for me, without actually having thought about if it is something for you. And then I also at times just go to a little bit more of a basic level with this. Like, we're so lucky to be able to just be born in a country where we can actually play team sports this way that we want to do it. So I also think it's important to have this broader aspect of life a little bit, that it's, in a way, it's so non-thankful to other players who would want to switch with you when you get a chance to play a world championship, for an example. Going out there not doing your best is, in a way, so disrespectful to people who have practiced their whole lives to be able to do this, and they would have been there. They maybe would have given it all. So I think there's an aspect of that as well, that shouldn't be something, or it should be something that you should think about. Like, I think that's an important aspect of the whole pressure management thing as well. Just being able to benefit from the situation that we're in. Floorball is in a really interesting spot right now, because the sport has proven that it works in so many ways. Like, it's great for, like, you and me, we just grab 4 buddies and we go to some kind of smaller sports center where there are just small goals, and we just get a ball and a couple of sticks. We would enjoy floorball because it's an amazing sport in that way. And floorball has also shown that, like, the big games on the big stage in front of 15,000-16,000 in a big hockey dome, it works. Like, the sport's really intense. When the fans are there, it's easy to cheer for people on floorball, because floorball players are not the biggest stars, so there's a lot of connection to the crowd and a connection to the normal people. And it's TV friendly as well. Like, it works in so many ways, floorball. So and another thing that's really cool with floorball is, like, there are no blue lines, there are no offsides. Literally, if my team has the ball in the offensive corner and we lose the ball from there, the opponent isn't further away than 3 seconds from scoring a goal. And after that will be a face-off. And if you actually, regardless if you win or lose the face-off, because if you lose the face-off, you can put pressure on the other team. And if you win the face-off, you have the ball. So it's literally possible to score 3 goals in 10 seconds. And it's not even a stretch. It happens, which means that, because we will be thinking with our football, our soccer heads or our hockey heads, thinking if a game is 3-0 and it's 12 minutes to play, people will go, oh, it's already a settled deal, right? But it isn't. But the challenge for floorball will be now to use these things that we have. And I think a very important thing is for us who are floorballers, that we stand up for our sport. That we don't go, like, if someone would ask me what I do for an occupation, that I go, I'm a floorball coach. That I don't go, I'm a sports coach. And then I wait until hours later and I say, yeah, it's this tiny little sport called floorball, because we have no reason to hide. I think the other sports should be copying a lot of what floorball does. Like, I think hockey should look at floorball and go, we need to get rid of every destructive rule there is. We need to get rid of the blue line. We need to get rid of all of these things that we already have. Like, we have a perfect setup for that. But we need to market ourselves. Like in Switzerland right now, the floorball games are broadcast on the national TV on Saturday evenings. Like, it's prime time. So we need to market ourselves too. We need to step away from the cliches. When we are doing interviews, we need to say stuff like there are. I think that's an important aspect of it. And then maybe the most important aspect is for us to take the step to become real athletes. Like, we've been touching on it. We've been touching on it in terms of the education part of it, or the athletes part of it, being able to understand what it takes in terms of practice to be an athlete so good that we can stand up in front of a camera of national television and say that I'm a floorball player. I practice very hard. I practice as hard as I can. I spend as much as I can of my living day of my day awake to be as good as I can. And if we do that, I think floorball has a huge potential. But there is also, of course, a risk that we will vanish somewhere in the shadows of the bigger sports because we didn't stand up enough for ourselves. My life is full of references to The Office, the UK version of The Office, which I think is probably the best TV series that's ever been made. And I don't know if it's in the end of the second season of The Office or if it's actually in a little Christmas special that they did. But they have this horrendous boss there who thinks he's the best boss in the world, but everyone's laughing at him behind the back because he's such a weird guy. But he says something that I think is actually really good. He says, he gets the same question, and he says, I want them to think, well, there's David Brent over there. I must remember to thank him one day, or something like that. And I kind of feel a little bit like that too. Like, I want people who have done stuff with me, regardless if I've been good in terms of helping them out and playing them a lot and giving them a lot of chances, or if I've been a tough guy to them in terms of not picking them for a world championship, or picking someone else instead because I thought someone else would give us a better chance of winning a world championship or something. I want them to go, that's a great guy. I should remember to thank him one day. Like, he was honest to me. He was good to me. I think that's the biggest thing. I don't think of a legacy in terms of me helping the sport that much or stuff like that. I don't see myself as a big enough piece for that. But if players that I was good to and bad to, if they'd all go, he was really good to me, then I'd be fine with that. I want to make sure that I keep on being progressive. Like, there's a very important element to me in my coaching and my handling of a team, that when players come to practice or when players come to a national team get together for 5 days, I don't want them to know exactly what's going to happen. Like, I want them to know that they need to be on their toes a little bit. And this could be a freaky team building contest about something that we do that a lot. It could be in terms of floorball. It could be them coming in and being forced to play another kind of system, or with different ideas, or I want to keep being that guy that, hits the home run at times, but misses the ball completely at times. That's going to be a huge thing for me going forward here, because the sport's so young, and it's not like hockey and football where everything's been done in terms of tactics. There are probably unlocked stuff out there that no one just knows, and I'll be very disappointed in myself if I'm not one of these guys who finds new stuff that others have to copy. That'd be a big thing. I'd be very disappointed if I wouldn't handle that. But like I said, I will swing and miss a lot of times. But once I stop swinging and missing, it's probably time for me to do something else.